Hi, this is oh, hi, this is Hi, this is Milana Vayntrub, and you're watching the whole podcast.
Welcome to the whole. I am Rob Sprance.
And I'm Lori Levine.
I'm so happy. Milana Vayntrub's here with us. Who I told her before we started that she is so funny with sketches and skits and things like that she's done, and she has a relatively new movie out, but it's coming out on Blu-ray. And you've actually mentioned on VHS. Is that really the case?
That's really the case. I think it works for the medium. There's like a warm coziness that comes with VHS tapes, a nostalgia, and I think the movie's got a bit of that. So it's a good pairing.
Yeah, it does, like a video vinyl kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Video vinyl.
Yeah. So the film, let's start with that. It's called Werewolves Within, and as you can see, something very bad has happened. But I don't want to. I won't.
It's actually just allergies in that clip. It's just that I'm experiencing terrible allergies.
Yeah, it looks like it. You need some Benadryl in that shot.
Yeah, it's just so dry. So dry. That season was very dry.
So the movie is so much fun, and because it's a mystery in a lot of ways too. I have to be very careful. I don't want to ruin it for people. I want them to see it and experience it for themselves. But it was really cool. Firstly, I love Sam Richardson too. He's just such a great actor, and he's starting to expand now. Like he was in Ted Lasso, completely unrecognizable not too long ago. So what made you pick up this project? Because it is a lot of fun. It's that 80s slasher, maybe scary vibe to it.
But it's also really funny, and the characters are dynamic. The ensemble, like when I heard who was involved, let alone it's being directed by Josh Rubin, who is one of my dear friends for, I want to say like 10 years or something, because we started doing College Humor sketches together. And we just trust each other. I trust him. He might think I'm a total fraud, but I trust him and really trust his sensibilities. And I know that he's got great taste and is an incredibly hard worker. So I was just happy to jump on board with literally whatever he would have asked me to do. And then Sam and Michaela Watkins, who I've been a fan of forever, and she's an actress that you've seen in everything, including SNL. So she and the rest of the cast just made it such an obvious yes.
Yeah.
And the script is stellar. Like, and Josh also made it very clear that we're welcome to improvise on top of it, obviously by casting Sam Richardson, who is a Second City guy, and Michaela, who's a groundling, Harvey Guillen, who's just a hilarious person. It felt like there's a great story. I can make it my own through improv and then just regular old acting. And I got to hang out with my peeps.
I love the term regular old acting.
Regular old boring acting. Am I selling this movie well?
Oh, no, but you mentioned the improv, and it's always something like it comes up a lot. Especially with the comedic actors. Have you done professional improv training? Because it's clearly there, whether you've done it or not. You've definitely pulled it off one way or the other. You can't tell.
You're a Citizens alumni, right?
Yes, I'm an
nice.
Upright Citizens Brigade alum. Yeah,
UCB. Okay.
Yes, I trained there, and I owe them everything for sure.
Yeah, we had Matt Walsh on, and he was, one of the founders of it. And it's kind of funny how we get one answer or the other. We get groundlings or UCB. It really just kind of depends on where people have grown up. It's UCB if it's in New York, East Coast, and it's groundlings in California most of the time. That's what we see.
Yeah. And it's Second City if you're in Chicago, probably.
Yeah. So, the cool thing about the movie too, other than the vibe, which is definitely part of it, and the humor of it, is the absolute just chaos that just starts raining, halfway through it. Do you and again, I'm trying to be careful as not to ruin anything here, because I want to keep right. So, when you're filming something like this, like how much room do you have to improvise? Because I know it costs money to do that kind of stuff, and I know on the
that it costs time.
Right. That both. So, I mean, do you get like one take to kind of see what you can do on top of that, or is there more to it?
Josh, when we were first joining the project, asked us what we like in a set and in a director. And for me, it was always about being collaborative and spontaneous. And so I think he knew when he hired a bunch of improvisers there was going to be improv, and he's an amazing improviser. He's actually one of the funniest people in the world, truly. And the fact that he chooses to like use his talents to direct is just a gift to everyone he gets to direct. I'm in love with him. It sounds like I'm in love with him, and it's because I'm in love with him.
Okay, makes sense.
So I think it was always understood that this is a safe place to improvise. Kind of the rule is you can do it as long as it doesn't affect the next person's line. Okay. So that they don't feel the pressure to improvise if they were going to try to get it scripted. And it is important to get it scripted, just out of respect to the story and the script.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned directing, and, anyone who, obviously the way you're most known is, of course, playing Lily on the AT&T commercials.
Hey, I can tell you're a fan. And lucky for you, nothing keeps you connected to March Madness like AT&T 5G.
5G, huh? Is that fast?
Oh, yeah, it's fast.
And is it reliable?
Definitely is.
What about secure?
Oh, yeah, it's secure.
Love it.
How many of those you got? I don't know. You're very good at whatever this is.
It's funny because to have a recurring character on a television show is hard enough. To have a recurring character that people know in a commercial is even more rare. So
there's only a few of them.
Yeah, I mean, we won't even name them because you're better. But
it is a competition. There is a ranking.
I
don't get a commission, so it means nothing to me, but thank you.
But you're at the point now where you're directing these commercials. I've seen interviews with you before where you said you called it easy, and I know that comes more from the actor standpoint because you're just kind of stationary, you're doing the scene over and over and over again. You don't have to remember a whole script. But when you're directing them now, you still feel they're easy?
No. No. Well, first of all, it's more of a time commitment. For every one day of shooting, there's like easily 3 to 5 days of preparation. And you're making something for a giant corporation, so there are a lot of people to make happy. Whereas when I was an actor, or still am an actor, it's really more about turning off the part of my brain that cares what people think. It's really more of just spontaneous creation. Whatever comes into my face, I spit out. So they're kind of different hats. But I'm also really lucky that I feel like I am trusted because I've been doing this for so long that I have a strong sense of what the tone that we're all trying to strike is. And I also feel like, we're all on the same team and we're trying to make something great together.
Yeah. And so how does it come up again from, let's go backwards a little bit. So
please.
I know you initially, you were a child actor and were in a lot of commercials, but I'm not gonna ask you what that experience was like because you probably were too young to remember most of it, right?
But here you are kind of asking me.
I know.
I'm not going to ask you this question, but here's the question,
but
right?
Here it is anyway. Well, because if you did remember, I'd love to hear it.
I have a lot of very vivid memories. I started when I was like 5 or 6. My mom, my family had been here for like 3 years at the time, and my mom was just kind of figuring out like what to do with this loudmouth. Like I was just a kid that like struck up conversations with strangers in elevators, and she was like, "Shut up or make money." So, so we picked the latter, and yeah, I just started, going on auditions for Barbie commercials and Polly Pocket commercials and other toy. Universal Studios was like my first commercial, which is like this theme park, and we got to shoot it at a theme park. And then when we wrapped, we got to go play at the theme. It just felt like the best time ever. I thought it was the greatest gig in the world, and I would get so hyped up, and I still am this way. I feel so lucky to be on sets that I can just, have like almost like excitement out of body experiences. And I've been having that since I was a kid, where my mom had really tried to shut me up.
And then you took a break for a while, like you got away from the whole thing, and it's understandable. Maybe that plays a part in your success now, is to get away from it for a while and then realize how much you missed it and come back versus always doing it.
That might be. I've never thought about it that way, but yeah, maybe. I started actually like really trying to do it in some way again in college, because I just started doing theater as a way to make friends. Honestly, I was like a transfer student. I dropped out of high school early. I went to community college. And then when I got to an actual university, I thought that it would just be a way to make friends and like do something after 6 p.m. when I wasn't waitressing or, and I was right. It was really the best way for me to make friends and to fulfill this need I have to be a weirdo. And I think it, like, I had all this energy, and the energy could have gone like towards depression, or it could have gone towards creation. And I was so lucky that I found a group of friends that all wanted to be weirdos together. And then when I graduated, when I graduated, this guy I was dating was like, "Do you want to go see a UCB show?" And I was like, "What's that?" And he was like, "Prepare to have your mind blown." And he was absolutely right. It, again, totally changed the course of my life. And I wanted to learn whatever it was that made it so that you can just like poof, and there's a story.
Yeah.
It's like such an incredible skill, and you can learn it. Like, it's not something people are born with. It's actually a practice. And the thought that I could get better at that was really, really exciting to me. And so very soon after that, then I figured out how to make this my business.
Mm-hmm. And then you started doing some YouTube stuff, and I don't mean like little stuff. Like, there was some fun. You had Live Prude Girls, which you did sketches where you were interviewing.
Which is the best name ever. By
I
the way.
I know, it really is. And
Thank you.
You've had guests such as, you could see how happy Matt Damon is to be.
Oh yeah, he loves it. Look at us, just touching a celebrity. He loves it.
But I had heard you say at one point that you almost did that out of necessity to almost give yourself roles, which is such a cool thing. And I hear often sometimes, like I went to film school for a few years, back in my 20s, and the number one thing they always said was, if you want to be known, just make something. Instead of trying to get someone to back you to make something, just do it. And here you go, putting this together, and like, I would think you would had no idea you would have had a Matt Damon on or anything like that when you started it.
Yeah, it was exactly that. I just needed to be making something, and auditioning when you don't have a lot to show for yourself was really hard. And I just thought this would be a way to maybe show people what I can do. One of the things I can do. And it, in addition to getting attention, it actually just taught me how to do a lot too. Like, it taught me how to edit. It taught me how to direct. It taught me how to write short form. And it also made me really bold, because that's when I would go up to Bob Odenkirk at like a fundraiser. I make it sound like I go to all these fundraisers, like one of the fundraisers they allow poor people to go to. At the time, I had nothing. We were obviously shooting in our friend's living room, and I could go up to him and say like, "Hey, I've got this web series. You wouldn't happen to be interested in letting two girls make fun of you on their couch, would you? You know, and
See, that's a great pitch, though, and it's so cool that and especially make fun of him like you pretty much call him old for a good 5 minutes, which is really
brutal,
good.
brutal. Which is like now somebody who is getting older, I'm like, what a bitch. What a little bitch. Like, oh my God, if I went on a show that I expected to be made fun of and the thing I was made fun of was my age, I would backhand a bitch. And he did not. He was a gentleman and a scholar. He was kind and he rolled with it and he like improvised on top. Just what a champ.
Yeah, I mean, but he's a pro from even back in the Mr. Show days. So,
yeah.
If you have to do that level of comedy, and you have to be able to take a beating, joke wise,
totally.
and everything
but
else.
I love that you had nothing to lose. Like you just go up to him. He could be like, "Get the fuck away from me."
Which people did. I did
Really?
go up to people at coffee shops and be like, "Hi, I'm sorry, I have a lamp series," and they were like, "I'm very busy and you're breathing very loudly," and then I would have to go cry in my car.
Who said no? Like, who did you ask that said no?
Jane Lynch.
Oh,
Jane
wow.
Lynch said no.
Okay.
Tila Tequila said no.
What?
No.
She would say
Yes.
no. She would say yes now, I bet.
Yeah, go
She
ask her
wanted
now.
money. Yeah. I mean, she wasn't like a huge deal then. We just thought it would be funny.
Right. Yeah.
But she wanted money and we didn't have any.
Right.
Like all of our money went to like hard drives and pizza for the guys that were helping us shoot. So
yeah, that's it. But it's so funny you say that because we always, for every guest that we've had, and we've had great ones, we've had McConaughey, we've had great, but there are also ones that say no that we joke about, like we asked Steve Guttenberg and he's like,
I didn't think you were
he
going to
can't
drop
do
the
it.
name, Rob.
But it becomes an inside joke. It's like when we get all right, Milana's coming on, take that, Guttenberg.
yeah, she's no Gutenberg, but we'll
No,
take it.
it's the opposite.
And that's how if I have a bad day, I'm like, oh, I got Gutenberg. It's everything now.
Oh, it's such a good sounding name to be. Like,
I know
a
it
throwaway.
is. It is. And one day he's going to see this and be like, I still don't want to do this show.
No, I especially don't want to do this.
Right. No, I know. So do you have, when you go after Matt Damon, do you already have Bob Odenkirk? Like, how do you get Matt?
Matt was just a special case because he was doing like an event to promote his nonprofit. Mm-hmm. And so we, through YouTube, pitched a script. So that was like one of the only ones that we also went totally off script, but they were like, okay, you can shoot something with Matt. You have 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. You have to come to him.
Right.
And we, his people had to approve a script. Mm-hmm. And so we're like, okay, thank you so much. So we brought our couch that we'd been shooting on to him.
You mind if I bring a couch?
Yeah, sorry. I'm just lugging it over my shoulder. I need it. It's orthopedic. And we did he ended up staying for way longer than 20 minutes, which was amazing. And also, we went way off script. So although we approved a script, he definitely rolled with us playing in every way.
Yeah, that's a good feeling, isn't it? When you say, okay, you only have this time, and then you realize that they're just kind of hanging with us. We've had that a couple of times where we're like, I'm sticking to the time and I'm done. And then we're still just talking. I'm like, oh, we could have kept going.
It's like a date. If you're going to meet someone for the first time, you're like, I got 20 minutes and then I have a dinner. But if it's going well, you're like, there was no dinner.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So Matt had no dinner. How nervous are you before that starts? Are you the kind of person that gets a little nervous beforehand, or were you just amped up and did it? Because I probably would have been a little nervous.
No, I wasn't nervous. I'm trying to think of times that I have been nervous. I'm more nervous to like the first time I met my boyfriend's sister, I was nervous. But like for stage stuff, especially when you're directing or when you're editing, which all the Live Crude Girl stuff I edited, I knew I could make myself look better if I needed to. I had a lot of I knew I was in good hands.
Right.
My hands. Right. So I wasn't nervous about that stuff. But, sometimes I do check in with myself, like before I go on stage as a stand-up, or I have like a very clear memory when I did At Midnight, which was this show on Comedy Central a ton, and it's a competitive comedy show, so you really have to be sharp.
That's the Chris Hardwick show, right?
The Chris Hardwick show, exactly.
Yeah.
And I remember before stepping on stage, kind of checking in with myself like that, where I would go, "Am I nervous? I'm not nervous."
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know why. I think it's that like if you do a bad job, nobody cares. Like
Such a great thing.
if you do a great job, a lot of good can come of it. But if you do a bad job, no, people won't see it. People won't care. They'll just keep going. It won't. It's not 5 steps back. But if you do great, it's 10 steps forward. You know.
It's such a great perspective to have, for sure. Because I'm like, I'll get. If there's someone big, you know, like really big, the only thing you mentioned very early on, you were talking about Werewolves Within, and you said, you know, he may think I'm a fraud, but I love him. And you'd be surprised at how many huge actors say the same thing. Like they think, like even Tony Hale said that to us. He's like, he always has that when he walks on set that he feels like, you know, he shouldn't be there, like he got lucky or, you know, so so like
it's ridiculous.
It is, and I might get nervous before something starts, but as soon as it goes, like you just kind of get into it and get into the conversation. But it's impressive that you weren't nervous for Matt. I would have been, for sure.
There are other things that I get nervous about, but yeah, that one, for some reason, I felt like I was inviting him into my house. You know, honestly, I was inviting him onto my show. So it was more about making him feel comfortable.
She was more nervous about if the couch would fit through the doors.
Yeah. How does the couch feel?
Right. Did you ask permission to bring the couch, or you just like, oh, by the way, I have a couch?
I don't remember. They were like, this is the space you can do it in. And I was like, perfect. Our couch will fit right in.
All right. So back to current day.
Okay.
And back to Lily again. So how does it come that you begin to direct instead? Like, so do you, and I'm always curious about something like this on the commercial side. Do they say, okay, we want you to be our spokesman for this date for the next few years, and you do X amount of commercials, or is it really just on a offer by offer basis for each individual one? How does that work?
At first it was like, here's one commercial. You know what? We actually don't like the way that turned out. Can we shoot again tomorrow with a different actor, or can we shoot tomorrow with a different set, or can we try again? And I'm like, yeah, great. I'll come back tomorrow. And you know, as a person who went on a lot of auditions for a lot of commercials, and a lot of them don't run. So all you can really count on is the day rate. Right. That's how much they pay you to show up that day. And if it runs, you get a little bit more money, or you can get a lot more money. And so I was just like, great, work me as many days as possible. Thank you for the money. And then that commercial ended up doing really well in terms of like the online play. It got like 1 million hits on YouTube, which was like bizarre for a commercial. It doesn't really happen. So then they asked me to come back like 3 months later and shoot a few more. And then like 3 months after that, they asked me to sign a contract for a little bit. And then it's kind of like short-term contract. So at any point, I have no idea how much longer I'm going to work for them. At any point, they could change their mind, but I absolutely love the job. So so anytime I am asked to come back, I say hell yes.
And
then go ahead, please.
No, go.
I was just going to say, for the directing question, so the campaign first started, I don't know, forever ago. Like I want to say like 35 years ago it started. But so the first time it ran for like 3 years. And then it stopped, you know, Lily went away. I don't know. She went to go live in Bali or something. And at that time I was getting more into directing. I had directed some sketches and some music videos. I had made a documentary, and I asked the director of that campaign if he would just give me feedback. You know, like when you need a creative person to tell you if something you did makes sense.
Sure.
And when he watched it, he actually offered me a position as a director at the production company that did those AT&T commercials.
Very cool.
And so as that campaign ended, I turned into a director of commercials. So I did that for I want to say about 5 or 6 years of just directing commercials, no acting commercials. I actually kind of said I was done with acting commercials. Um, and directing became my full-time gig, and I loved it because it's really creative and it's really challenging, and you have to learn about a different industry with every spot you do. And I love making things funny. It's my favorite thing in the world. So when the pandemic happened, when it first started, everyone in my industry, in all aspects of my industry, was scrambling to figure out how they're going to work again. I mean, obviously, you guys even had to like adapt to a new form of doing business. And so I was on the phone with somebody at my production company. They're called Hungry Man. They're the greatest. And we were just brainstorming like, how do we do like another Skype series at the time, or Zoom series? You know, we were like watching all of these people figure out how to be creative. And we came up with the idea of seeing if Lily, this AT&T store manager, could come back, but she was also working from home like everybody else.
Right.
And so I wrote up a pitch and a couple scripts, and me and my producer sent it to them. And about a month later, we heard that we're going to shoot a couple scripts of Lily at home, which means that I turned my apartment into a studio.
Oh, wow.
And my partner painted the walls, and we had like the art department deliver furniture that we like sanitized before bringing. It was just, this was like April, May 2020. No, this was April 2020, I want to say. So it was like, we didn't know how anything worked. We didn't know what was contagious.
Yeah.
We just knew that nobody could come into our house. Mm-hmm. Everything had to be clean. And so we had 4 red cameras set up, and I directed and acted them while my partner learned how to do it. He's not even a filmmaker. Learned how to do every other part of the business.
No hair and makeup or anything, right? Just you and him?
Just me. Just me. Just like today. Okay.
Well,
yeah.
It's cool that they went ahead and let you do them, because they did come out really good. I like that you're now you're doing your hair and makeup.
Now I'm like, oh, where does this belong? Okay.
Well, I only have a few left. I just try to figure out where I'm going to put them. So there's a big difference between them. One of the things that really impressed me about AT&T, and more so with you, is you had taken a stand a while back because you were getting harassed online quite a bit. And I'm sure any woman can relate to that on different levels. I'm sure Lori has had that many times as well, but it happened to you to the point where it was really starting to get to you. And rather than just take it, like, you took a stand on it. And I was very impressed by the way you came out and just basically said, hey, this is not okay. And it must have, while I don't think it'll change a lot of people who act that way as mine, at the same time, I do think you brought awareness to something that with social media doesn't get talked about enough.
Thanks. Yeah. I just try. I mean, I had no grand plan. I just needed to respond in a way that felt authentic to myself. So one of the things that I tried to do was, all of a sudden when like the harassment started, it really started to grow very fast with a lot of disgusting boys. I can only assume that they're like children because of the way that they act. A lot of disgusting boys started following me, like hundreds of thousands of them.
Yeah.
And so what I did was for a little bit turn my platform into a place to educate them. And I started having interviews with awesome men, Instagram lives with people like Richie Reseda, who had this, was in this documentary called Feminist on Cell Block Y, where he talks about toxic masculinity and sexual harassment and kind of like how this idea of manliness is actually just hurting the men. This idea of like putting women down is actually not only doing damage to women, but also doing damage to men. And yeah, I just got the opportunity to interview people that I wanted these boys to hear from. And then I did that for maybe about 5 weeks, kind of like after the harassment started. And then I found out I was pregnant. And that was a whole other challenge of being sexually harassed while pregnant.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people would maybe like scoff at this idea of calling what happened to me sexual harassment because it was on the internet. But it was also people showing up at my family members' houses, people sending threatening, all sorts of stupid shit.
Yeah, that's scary.
It was a whole other thing. And so then, you know, as I was shooting these commercials, I decided that I'm not going to show my body on camera because I think it's one thing to take a hit for your body, but then when you become pregnant, your body becomes your family. And I did not want my family to take that hit. You know, I just didn't feel safe enough to introduce my like little growing being to this world of scumbags.
Yeah, which is sad. It's so sad because
So
you know
sad.
that's because you know it's and I can only imagine as it grows. At first, you're excited. Hey, look, all of these people now know who I am, and they're I'm getting recognized, and I work so hard for this. But you don't necessarily think about what the other side of that is until it starts to happen. So it's did you like make like AT&T backed you for sure, and that was great, and I think that's a big deal. Did you have a conversation with them? Did they reach out to you, or did they just put out a public statement and you saw that they backed you and you were just excited about it, or did you just explain to them why you felt that way?
Well, just to go back to what you said about like, you know, you're excited about the growth, but you don't ever expect the dark side of it. I think a lot of women and people of color and people of the LGBTQIA community do expect it.
Yeah.
Like, as you're growing your audience, you are anticipating the violent comments. You are anticipating the assault in some way. I think that what I experienced was like a fraction of what other people experience on the internet all the time.
Yeah.
And it was enough to make me not want to be perceived.
Yeah.
It was enough to make me not want to exist.
Yeah, that's heavy, man. That's heavy.
And so I think it's like it's a weird thing that we gamble with when we choose this career. And I honestly went into it very optimistic, thinking that the internet was my friend. And I still think that I have friends on the internet. You know, I do have like really amazing people that support me and are kind. And even if they don't agree with everything I say, I think are kind, decent people. But yeah, I guess the extent of the mass, the quantity was not something I could have prepared for.
Yeah, makes total sense. And, you've also, you use your platform for, we're the three of us all politically in the same realm. We all think the same. And I've seen your posts on what's happening now with abortion. And I know you've had, you stood out about, the Syrian refugees, and when you do something like that, because we know how infuriating some of this can become. Do you find yourself sometimes about to tweet something and just say, you know what, let me calm down, let me wait? Especially because, obviously you're working with AT&T and they're a company and you have to be a little careful. But I also get how infuriating some of this can absolutely
Especially
be.
your parents came here you know, is a struggle to come to this country, I'm sure, what they faced.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Do you hesitate at all, or
do I what?
Do you hesitate at all before you start to voice those opinions, or are you just like, I'm just going to do this, I have my platform?
Right. It's complicated, and I feel like I've gone through all sorts of different stages with it. Times where I've been more vocal. I mean, a big part of my drive to even be a public figure was to create change. It was hopefully that like I could say something that would have influence. I could be a positive influencer, an influencer for good. I could, you know, change people's minds. And as I've spent more time on the internet and seen the way interactions actually go, I have less faith in anyone's ability to just change minds on the internet. I think we need to be more active and engaged than just posting. And so I don't hesitate in terms of like, what will people think if I voice my opinion? The thing I hesitate about is sometimes just not knowing enough and saying something that's wrong. But if I know something is true and powerful and can create change, then I have, especially when it's about amplifying someone else's voice that needs to be amplified, I have no fear there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's great. And you know, I know we don't have tons of time, so you know, we could go all day, but I know you don't. We'd rather not go all day. But,
I don't want to anymore.
But all that being said, I want to at least, you know, we talked politically. There is a character that you played I do want to bring up, which is Bramby Streeter, where on Sarah Silverman's "I Love You, America," you played it was this pundit who is just the typical right-wing blonde, you know, blue-eyed pundit that goes on and appears out of nowhere seemingly over and over and over again. And you are really, really good on that. People can look that up on YouTube. But what's it like working with Sarah? Because she's awesome.
Yeah, she's like an icon living. I don't know. She's a role model. She's cool. She's a Jew. I love her.
Makes total sense. So I want everyone, first of all, to check out, again, Werewolves Within. You can check it out. It's out now on Blu-ray and on VHS, but of course you can rent it anywhere, be it iTunes or anywhere else you like. I really do recommend it. It's a fun film. What else do you have coming up? Anything else that you want us to keep an eye out for? I'm sure Lily will be in our lives going forward as well.
Yeah, just AT&T Girl, the movie.
Are you really doing one?
No.
Do it. Do it.
I should.
Yeah, just write it and send it to me.
That it would be successful if she did it.
It probably would.
I think she's a likable character. She's got a dark side. This is what I'm pitching.
Yeah,
she's got a dark side. She's got no friend.
Yeah, it's funny when I was looking at the dark side, when I was looking up just photos and stuff to use as one, just the Lily side eye it summed it all up. But if you are a nice and polite human being, you can follow Milana on Instagram at MintMilana and on Twitter at MintMilana. And if you do, be nice. That's the most important part. Just be a human being. It's not hard to do.
Yeah. It's really not.
Thank you so much again, Milana. I really appreciate it. I wish you nothing but the best.
Thank you. Same to you.
Same to you.
Thank you for watching The Hole. I am Rob Sprans.
And I'm Lori Levine.
Later, motherfucks.